Midnight on Earth podcast with your host, Jake Weaver. Engineered by Cedric Swan. Hey everybody, we are back with another episode of Midnight on Earth. I'm your host, Jake Weaver, and we're here to bring you more knowledge, more light, and more love. We have yet another legend on the show. I am incredibly grateful and incredibly honored to have Brigitte Mars on the show. Elder herbalist, legend, force for change, so many good things. She's here with us today, and I'm super duper excited about it. And before I do my social media shout out, I got to also announce that we have a guest co-host. We never do this. We've only done this one other time, but because we had Brigitte Mars, I had to bring our resident herbalist on the show. Brynn Anderson of Vital Force Herbs is here. Hello, Brynn.
Hey, Jake. How's it going?
We're going to talk to Brigitte here in just a second, but first, I need all of the listeners to do something for me. If you have not done this already, follow me on Instagram at midnight_on_earth. That is the address. You can follow me there. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you go to get your podcasts, you can click that button that connects us. So when the legends come on, you know, you get that notification to wherever you get that. And of course, tell a friend, spread the word of mouth. It's so powerful. Bring people that you know need this high frequency, love-based information. You know these people, and it might even be yourself, your friends, your family. Bring them all here. midnightonearth.com. Okay, we're going to talk to Brigitte, but first I have to read her bio. So here we go. Brigitte Mars is an herbalist, a nutritional consultant of natural health with almost 50 years of experience. She teaches herbal medicine at Naropa University and School of Health Mastery in Iceland. She has taught at Omega Institute, Esalen, Kripalu, Sivananda Yoga Ashram, Envision Tribal Visions, Unify Sister Winds, Arise Festivals, and even the Mayo Clinic. She is a founding and professional member of the American Herbalist Guild. Brigitte is the author of many books and DVDs, including the Natural First Aid Handbook, Natural Remedies for Mental and Emotional Health, the Country Almanac of Home Remedies, the Desktop Guide to Herbal Medicine. There's so many. Beauty by Nature, Addiction Free Naturally, The Sexual Herbal, we know we need that, Healing Herbal Teas, and co-author of the Hemp Nut Cookbook. Wow, this lady's amazing. Her history is amazing. Her latest project is a phone app called iPlant. And in addition to all that, she is also a psychedelic sitter, an end-of-life doula. And currently, she lives in Boulder, Colorado. And by the grace of all of the wonderfulness of the universe, she's here with us today. Hello, Brigitte.
Oh, I'm so delighted. Thank you for that beautiful intro.
Well, thank you for all of your work. I'm just going to say, let's just get that out of the gate. Thank you for everything that you've done for your fellow humans, all of these decades, all of these years. You've put out love, you've put out light, you've done service to humanity, and I'm sure it's come back to you, but I still want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yep, that is my mission on Earth.
Okay, well,
it shows.
Bang the dandelions and start eating them.
So we're going to be talking about your most recent book, which is Natural Remedies for Mental and Emotional Health. And then the subtitle is Holistic Medicine and Techniques for a Happy and Healthy Mind, which people, we need this now more than ever. We can talk about Brigitte's history. We're going to do that. But it seems like in 2024, with the flux of energy and different events and various things happening, there's a lot of restructuring, therefore a lot of instability. And we need to tap into nature. Our beautiful mother, the creator source, gave us this relationship with our Mother Earth to help us heal naturally during these times. Is that the inspiration for this book? Did you feel an impetus to get this out in these shaky, kind of interesting times?
Well, there's been a lot of shaky times on the planet, there could have been like Vikings coming over the hill or Nazis or slave traders. So, hey, life, as a matter of fact, I teach a workshop called Jedi Survival Skills on a Perilous Planet because it's good to be ready for anything. And yeah, it's weird. It's so weird right now, but we're going to do our best. And that is my prayer. Like, okay, we're going to do our best. Yes. And thank you for all of that.
And you do feel like this is timely, though. I mean,
oh, absolutely. Well, I've been saying for many years, wherever two or more are gathered, one is on antidepressants. So,
unfortunately in the West, though, in your book, you point out that 90%, I believe, is that correct? 80% of the world uses natural remedies as their primary source of healthcare.
This is true. And, it's not just depression, it's anxiety and OCD, but it seems that in this culture, when people have physical conditions, they go to one kind of doctor, whether it be a natural doctor or a AMA kind of doctor. But when they have mental things going on like depression, anger, grief, anxiety, memory loss, they go to a different kind of doctor. It's almost as if the mind and the body are not connected. And I don't really get how we can see that, because in Asian medicine, herbs, diet, acupuncture are used for mental disharmonies as well as physical things. And we know that the mental body can affect the physical body, but the physical body can also affect the mental body.
Absolutely, because the body itself is alive. It has its own consciousness. We are light beings in these physical bodies, and the body itself is its own being. And we have to understand that the relationship with our body, that consciousness is a symbiotic relationship. It's a relationship that requires us to talk to our body and then also be able to tell our body no when it asks for things that will throw us out of balance.
Mm-hmm. And I do think that there's so many things that maybe have people get medicated for mental disharmonies like anxiety, depression, grief. And it could be that these people are eating something they're allergic to that's causing brain inflammation. It could be that they need more of a certain vitamin or amino acid than they're getting in their diet. There could be some deficiency going on. There could be something like heavy metal toxicity from, mercury fillings or aluminum cookware. And now, of course, we go through stuff here on this earth. But when it comes to mental health, rather than thinking that the only thing we can do is sign up for a prescription diet or a prescription drug, the prescription drug, I really wanted to give people ideas that there's so many natural, time-tested things we can do, whether it be food, herbs, supplements, light therapy, color therapy, gardening, doing your feng shui, yoga, breathing. Like there's so many things you can do. And if you need to be on prescription drugs for a period of time, there's no judgment about that, but you may come to a point where you don't want to use them forever and ever for whatever reason. You want to have a baby, or it's not working, or it's killed your libido, or it's making you gain too much weight or curbed your appetite, whatever that is. These are all opportunities that using natural medicine that get you to love yourself more, take care of yourself better. And so when you do go off of those medications, you've got more tools in your pocket. You've got more things that you know how to do because you've started going to the natural food store. You found a good therapist, or you found a yoga class, or you've done your feng shui and you're not living in a cluttered mess anymore.
Well, what I loved about your book is that you really do come at these emotional and mental issues from all sides. You talk about different therapies, like you said, and modalities, and you even include the Western medicine perspective in addition to really just defining the ailment itself, which is super amazing because people need to understand that there are these different treatments, but it doesn't necessarily negate the Western medicine. It seems like the Western medicine is meant to be used as a Band-Aid, and these earth-based medicines, these natural medicines, are the ones that are meant to keep us in balance once we get back to some sort of homeostasis, right?
Absolutely, Jake. And even if it's natural medicine, let's say someone has insomnia. Yes, they could take a sleeping pill, or they could take an herbal formula with, kava and valerian and passion flower. But whatever they choose to take might work so much better if they look at things like taking a lavender bath before bed, or stopping eating 3 hours before bed, or getting ready for the next day the night before. So they're not like, all my socks don't match, and my clothes will be all wrinkled, and my husband needs cream for his coffee, or, whatever it is. If we would get ready for the next day the night before. And what about things like wearing an eye mask, or breathing techniques? And again, maybe it's an herb, maybe calcium and magnesium will help you. So my wish is that we use some of these lifestyle things along with the herbs or even the pharmaceuticals, because the lifestyle things are so important and everything works better. And eventually you might get to the place, I did all this lifestyle stuff and now I don't even need the herbs. I'm sleeping so well.
Right. The body requires maintenance. There's no doubt. And it seems like you were saying earlier, there's this disconnect, at least in Western culture, that says that if there's any of these issues like you described, there's a pill for it. It's like when people were jokingly saying, there's an app for that. There's an app for that. Well, it's like in Western culture, especially in America, there's a pill for that. There's a pill for that. You see these commercials for these pills and the side effects. My God, why would you even want to do that? So to me, it's like a science that's not perfected, yet it's out on the market. People turn to that. They don't understand that all of these remedies have been there for thousands of years, but they were demonized. Why do you feel like they were demonized and pushed away from the Western mind?
Oh, that is such an important question. So, if we look back in a time between the 1400s and the 1700s, in a sense, Big Pharma was at it then, because many of the so-called witches that were executed for practicing witchcraft were women, were herbalists and midwives. They were competing with doctors who should be the only ones to deliver women's babies, of course, and promoting herbal remedies instead of wonderful things like mercury, which was a popular remedy for syphilis back then. And, it's interesting. I actually had a client today who was a pharmacist, and I was telling her, I said, the word quack comes from doctors coming from town to town to bring quicksilver, which is an old name for mercury. The quacks coming to town, but it wasn't the herbalists that were giving it. It was the doctors that were giving mercury, which actually often caused more problems than about the problem of syphilis. But one more thing I want to say. This is big.
Yes, please.
Jake and Brynn. In 1917, the Rockefeller Foundation, who have been very invested in the pharmaceutical industry, they sent one man, Mr. Flexner, around the United States to go pay a visit to all the medical schools. And he made a deal with them. The deal was, if these medical schools would only teach the new modern medicine, they would get funding. But if they taught that old-fashioned homeopathy, herbal medicine, no funding for you. And so that's what happened in this country. But if you go into a pharmacy in, Germany or Switzerland and you say, I've got this problem, you can do a drug, but the herbs never left. The herbs are still there on the shelf. So,
So, yeah, that's really
I think there's a little financial greed going on there because, when we use natural remedies, we're also helping to keep the planet green. I mean, somewhere there's going to be a field of lavender or echinacea growing and the pollinators and butterflies and children frolicking and everybody's happy. And instead of like, petrochemicals going into the water. So I know what I would want in my neighborhood, right?
Absolutely.
Well, it's mind blowing because it's hard to imagine for people that have been immersed in it. Now, you've been immersed in it for decades and loving it. You've been holding that frequency. I've been studying it for a couple decades. I know Brynn has as well. So for me, I'm kind of used to it. It's hard for me to imagine that this is new information for people. Like they're still in the matrix. They're still not even getting this, but it seems like there's certain things that cut through the illusion, that cut through the matrix, like weather and the earth and herbal medicine, that no matter how the illusion that humans create shift and change over the centuries, these remedies, these earth-based situations are always there to push through that.
And, natural medicine, I don't want to say that everybody should just use natural medicine because natural medicine works great for people that are motivated. Some of my doctor friends say, look, I don't like recommending so many drugs, but if I just told people to go home and, take vitamin C and have a bowl of chicken soup and drink plenty of fluids, they want something that they can't access themselves. So my doctor friends say, yeah, we give away a lot more prescriptions. So natural medicine is calling upon people to take some responsibility about what you eat and where you place your consciousness. Could all the media be making us sick and the toxic music and literature that we read that fills us full of fear and dread and all of that. So again, I'm really happy about it. And I do really like to say that these remedies, especially when it comes to the plant medicine, they've been used by millions of people for thousands of years. So I've worked in a pharmacy. I worked at a holistic pharmacy, Pharmaca, for 20 years when they were happening. And I saw a lot of drugs get approved. And then, 6 months later, they're being recalled.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Vioxx is one I remember that was like that. That gave people heart damage.
I've seen many of them, and again, if you watch an hour of TV, you're going to see ads for eat this food, take these drugs. If you eat these food, you're going to need these drugs.
So what, if you're looking at it from like, and this is kind of a buzzword in spiritual circles now, this meta awareness. If you look at it from a meta perspective, what are we looking for when we're trusting chemicals and we're trusting these man-made things to heal us? Like, where is the disconnect? What happened there, looking from the outside in?
Well, I will say, my dad's ancestry was from Russia and my mom's ancestry was from France through Canada. And there was something about they came to America and they wanted to be modern. And when I wanted to carry on the tradition of my French Canadian grandmother, they really said, why would you want to do that? That's something poor people did in the old country in the last century. So it was like, no, we're modern. We
So that was the root of
thing about amalgamating and, doing the American thing. And believe me, all of that's great, but it was almost like, casting out the tradition that really is so valuable. So, they say it skips a generation, but I'm very much like my grandmother who was a folk healer and, she used garlic and apple cider vinegar and honey and, red palms and tea leaves and all that stuff. And I just said, she tells the weather better than the dude on TV,
So people were really coming to the new world as if it was a new world. Like they were on a rocket ship from their ancestry to this new planet, America, where everything was different and nothing mattered before. And this, whatever they said, this new world was gospel. It was exactly perfect. And all of that other previous information, though time tested and valid, is now old world mythology. That's so mind blowing to think about.
And another thing that happened in, the pharmaceutical world is you can't patent a plant. All right.
Right.
And so, dandelions, if I were going into another planet, I would bring dandelion, nettles, and cannabis with me. But let me just talk about dandelions for a minute, because dandelions are so medicinal. I also have a new book out called Dandelion Medicine that just came out with Story Publishing. And dandelions are like, every part of them is edible. The flowers are high in lutein, but we know that dandelion leaves are very diuretic. And they're said to be as effective a diuretic as one of the leading pharmaceutical drugs. Okay, but why would any company study that dandelions are a good drug? Because people have them in their yard. And so there's this thing in medicine where they look for usually an active ingredient. Usually it's an alkaloid. We could say, aspirin, found salicin, that ephedra, contained ephedrine. We could look at, tobacco contains nicotine, coffee contains caffeine. Alkaloids, they always end in IN or INE.
Right.
Okay. And so what very often the pharmaceutical companies do is they look for the alkaloids, which are often very bitter, hydrastine and golden seal, mescaline and peyote. Maybe that's not something they're so interested in, but
kind of. You'd be surprised. We'll talk about that.
If they can make money from it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about that.
But when you just either synthesize the alkaloid or you only extract the alkaloid, you're missing out on the big picture, the whole symphony, because plants also contain not only alkaloids, but vitamins, minerals, fiber, chlorophyll, saponins, glycosides, and all kinds of wonderful things. And it's kind of looking at, no, we just want that one active ingredient. And believe me, I've been in this business long enough to see, we thought that the active ingredient was, hypericin. Oh, but it's really hyperforin. And really, herbalists are saying, no, just use the whole thing. That's better. Make a tea out of it. When you're sick, you should be drinking more fluids anyways. And, you're holding a cup of, steaming herbal tea. You're getting this aromatherapy treatment. It's time for affirmation. Like, I'm strengthening my immune system. I'm nourishing my nervous system. It's so beautiful. But I think we've allowed ourselves to be dummied down to think that we can't do it ourselves. I was at a party a few weeks ago and I heard this man say, I have high blood pressure, but my doctor's going to get it down for me. And I said, gee, don't you think you should be getting it down?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a drug, but has your doctor said anything maybe about, changing your salt and less caffeine? Maybe try meditation.
It's interesting, but they feel validated because of their training. And their training comes from this paradigm of authority. It's on high. These other doctors that are more accredited than me said it's right. So therefore it is. And therefore I'm going to now espouse that as gospel. Like I said, this is what we're struggling with Western medicine, but you've been in this for 40 years, or actually close to 50 years now.
I think it's almost like I'm close to 60 now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
I have like a daughter who's 51. So.
Oh my God. You look really healthy. Oh my God. People, you can't see this right now, but she's just like a glowing goddess, radiant light right now. So, wow.
Thank you so much. But I do think, we do want to honor Western medicine. I mean, if you're in a car accident, go to the hospital. I mean,
right.
Really, this is so beautiful. And so I don't want it to be us and them.
Yes.
I really just want us to all work together for the highest good. But I really do love it when I think about companies that are honoring the whole plant. And, rather than like, just go look for alkaloids, but look for what are some of the plants that the native people or the indigenous people have been using, because there just might be something there, and, very often there is. And again, there's so many other things we can do, but I do feel that Yes, our planet is suffering right now. I mean, you go outside, our planet is suffering and people are suffering. And so we're all in this together. And I think that using natural medicine is a step towards a healthier world and everybody wins.
Yes. Brynn, did you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to speak to that when you're using the whole plant, then you're empowering yourself. And there's like you said, you can only separate it into so many parts, and you can take the curcumin out of turmeric or whatever, but it doesn't, there isn't that like magic of the plant communicating with the magic of the human. And that is a healing in itself. And then when you're taking when it's the doctor fixing the blood pressure, then you're taking that power away from the person. And I think people don't even realize they have that power. So I don't know how you feel about that.
Yes, and then extracting it, just to add to that, extracting those alkaloids, just focusing on that. They're not focusing on the plant spirit. It's the relationship, the resonance with the plant spirit itself that activates and institutes the healing, I believe. So you start isolating that. My friends that are into Iboga talk about this. The ibogaine, it's not even the same thing, because when you isolate that, it's just a compound. It's a chemical at that point. The plant spirit is gone.
And, speaking of iboga, like, wouldn't it be great if the continent of Africa had more products that they could bring into the world market and more ways of, keeping the jungle preserved and helping the people? But, oh no, we've got to make it illegal and only get the alkaloid, and it probably won't be nearly as much fun, and you won't have all that other stuff happening that changes your life and your consciousness.
There are Iboga shamans in America. In fact, we had an episode with one recently. You'll have to check it out. It wasn't that long ago, like 5 or 6 weeks ago. We had a Western Iboga shaman based in Oregon on the show, Evan Burton. So you'll have to talk to him. He went to Africa and trained with that tribe, the Bwiti, to be an Iboga shaman.
I'd love to listen to that.
Incredible stuff. So, okay. 60 years now.
I started young.
You saw the changes now. You've seen cyclical movements in consciousness related to herbalism and these topics. Would you say that in 2024, people are more open than ever? Could be a tumultuous time in the world, but people are more open than ever. They're open to these topics. They're open to learning.
Oh, absolutely. People get ready. And I think a lot of people are maybe they've done the pharmaceutical thing, but it worked for a while. It made the symptoms go away. And we often see that one drug often leads to another drug.
Isn't that funny? It's like all these symptoms. I got to take this drug. I have these symptoms from this drug. Now I have to take this drug that gave me that. Now that drug gave me symptoms. It's insanity. Like, it seems like it's caveman science. Like, it's like we think we know, but we're so primitive. We have no clue. And the whole consciousness of it is disconnected from nature, which is connected to source and the universe. So all of that ethereal information is like completely lost there, it seems like.
It's true. It's true. I was riding back when I used to ski. I was riding up a chairlift, and with this young doctor, and he said, I don't really believe in herbs. When I told him I was an herbalist, I said, so tell me something, doctor. Do you ever smoke weed? And he said, oh, I happen to have some right here. And he pulled out his little pipe and everything. I said, well, that's an herb. Does that work? And of course, maybe that one you noticed.
Like, well, that one, but not the other ones.
Yeah, but hawthorn does something, and garlic does something, and turmeric does something too. It might not be something that you notice physiologically, but you might be able to lower your blood pressure. And so, I did not grow up with great health. I grew up in upstate New York. I was on, antibiotics all the time. I really didn't like it. And so the fact that I had health challenges, it made me, quest. Like, I started reading the back of the cereal label. 10 years old, like, wow, I wonder if that's what's making people sick. And,
wow.
I know I had this younger sister, Rachel, and she had this terrible, I was probably like 12 years old. She had this terrible skin condition. And my parents, God bless them, they took her to the best specialists. They went to 3 different specialists. But I said, it started when you started using that chemical bubble bath. What do you know? You're like 12 years old. Like, the specialists have this nice cortisone cream she can rub on there. And you know what? After 3 specialists and God knows how many hundreds of dollars it cost, it was the bubble bath. I just kind of had this, like, I don't know, look at the ingredients in there. Like, really, should we be putting all that dye on this little baby's body?
You
like
spiritually, intuitively knew, like your spirit, your higher self was communicating with you and you were intuiting that.
Yeah, it's true. And they still sell that same cereal. I can't believe it.
Yeah, big surprise. In fact, it's probably worse than it was then. As far as the preservatives, the GMOs, they probably didn't even have GMOs in the way they do now. It's shocking. Why do we accept this? Not us, the people that know, we've been activated, we've got this information, but why generally do humans accept this? Are they truly in a trance? Are they brainwashed to think that if it's on a shelf, it's okay? Like, what is going on here? Because any kind of critical thinking would dismiss any of these things being healthy.
I'm just, I'm not attached to everybody doing what I say, like, hey, but I sometimes just say to people, hey, if what you're doing is working for you, great. Like, or I might just say, well, how's that working for you? Or I might say, if you keep doing the same thing, the same thing's going to happen. So even if you do find a drug and it minimizes your symptoms, but yet you're still doing the same lifestyle things that are maybe undermining your health. But I have no attachment that everybody needs to get on the natural bandwagon. But I do think that time is of the essence. And I think that this is really good to learn about because there's a lot you can do with, like I said, garlic and onions and vinegar and cayenne pepper. And it's really fun and it really works. I raised 2 daughters, Sunflower and Rainbow. And I just use natural medicine all the time. And I remember one time my daughter Rainbow said, Mom, I need to tell you, I had strep throat and you treated me with herbs. I probably gave her usnea and hot ginger compresses around the throat. She said, I miss more school than the other kids because you had to use the herbs. How kids are. And then at the end of the school year, she said, Mom, I have to tell you, I actually missed less school than the other kids because I only had strep throat once. But the other kids, you got it repeatedly. But, I was saying like, yeah, but I made your favorite soup and I did foot massage and we got to watch Grease like for the 80th time. And,
Well, and that's the thing. The human, I'm not sure how to define it, but we're so, I don't want to say delicate and I don't want to say high maintenance, but it does take a significant amount of energy to keep us stable. We have to be on top of it because for whatever reason, if we're not and we start to slip, the effects can accumulate very fast and then the results accumulate. Why is that? Like, why do you feel like it takes so much? Or is it a situation where once you really start getting in the activity and the motion of these things, it becomes very easy?
Well, I think people often feel pressured. They don't have enough time. People feel very stretched. This is what's convenient. I mean, it's a lot easier just to go and get a pharmaceutical pill. You might have to like travel a little further to find the health food store or the herb shop that has the products that you want. Insurance covers pharmaceutical drugs. But if you really, need to, change your diet or buy some herbs or supplements, insurance usually won't cover that. So people feel, no, insurance will pay for drugs and surgery before they're going to pay for, herbs and homeopathy. And I think that we've just thought like, that's not my specialty. But so one of my many goals is like to help people be their primary healthcare person. It's not like you can't see the chiropractor, the acupuncturist, or the medical doctor, the gynecologist, whatever. Go see whoever you want. But really, you need to be the primary person. And, research it. There's so much information out there. That's why I've written so many books so that you'll know what to do if depression strikes you. Or like anxiety. Anxiety is such a big thing right now. I hear it from people. I've treated so many people with panic attacks, and I don't think enough doctors are saying that anxiety could be more pronounced when you have low blood sugar.
Yes.
And yet, if all you did was have 2 cups of coffee and then some kind of sweet pastry for breakfast, and then you listen to fast rock and roll music, which is great for cleaning the house, but not good for, like having serenity of consciousness. And then you're late and your heart's racing and you're breathing really shallowly. I mean, there's so many things you could do for anxiety. You could have some healthy snacks with you. You could eat a better breakfast. You could, have a bottle of lavender oil and take 5 deep inhalations on each nostril. And it goes right to your brain. I always say, would you rather go down freak out freeway or lavender lane?
That's so beautiful. Brynn talks about...
I'm going to remember that.
Brynn talks about healing yourself and how important it is for self-care. That's a huge thing right now. It's hard for people because they are under an assault from toxins, which attacks the vital force, as Brynn often talks about. That is huge because people want to do these things. They hear this, they're like, I would really love to have a more healthier life and do some of these things these people are talking about. But that fire is dulled. Why is that fire dulled?
Well, I'm a big believer in you need to get up an hour earlier so you have time for self-care. It's really easy to skip yoga, skip the healthy breakfast, skip making a healthy lunch for yourself, not taking your supplements, And, it's a new year. So it's a great time for making resolutions. I always make a resolution for each chakra. Oh, look, here's my little chakra doll. She's got, let's see.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
Okay, so red is about what are you going to do to feel safe this year? I don't know, maybe take a self-defense class or something. Orange is about who you're going to hang out with. Maybe you should hang out with people that are on a healthy life path. That's good. And then yellow, this is where we say, I don't need to be addicted to anything. I mean, the eating gluten and dairy, it's making me all congested. So maybe I should change my diet, or maybe I need to eat a salad every day. Green is about, what can we do to live more green? We're going to buy the organic. We're going to make our own, I washed my clothes with ivy leaves the other day. Ivy leaves, Hedera helix. Okay, blue is we're going to create art and speak more affirmatively instead of saying, oh, I'm such a mess. I'm so disorganized. I'm so sick. Oh, it's like I am taking steps for better health. And then this is where are we going to put our consciousness? If we're just watching movies about like pedophiles and cannibals, that's not really inspiring. Why did they get a movie made about them?
Exactly.
And then, this, I love that you talk about, the creator, so find some way to connect to source. Prayer is great. I've been telling everybody, Om at 420, one breath for peace, whether you're doing anything else or not.
Yeah. And for people that are just listening around the world, what she held up was this beautiful cosmic kind of Raggedy Ann doll with the chakras outlined in colors on the front of the doll. And to guide us. That's incredible information because it is, and people are feeling this energy. They're feeling this stress, but all of the remedies, all of the answers, not just remedies, but restoration, like you talk about in your book, revitalization. It's all there for us on the earth, and the strategies are available right now.
And, Jake, I think if I were to say one of the most important things people can do, because it is such a precarious time, it's so unsettling, but the weeds, the things that we were conditioned to think are evil weeds, are really the Jedi masters of it all, because nobody plants the dandelion or the violet or the chickweed or the lamb's quarter. And because those plants have figured out the key to survival, they grow without anybody planting a seed. Nobody waters them, mulches them. Dogs pee on them. People step on them. They grow through the cracks in the sidewalks. I'm not saying collect it on the sidewalk or where the dog pee park is. Maybe you go to the backyard instead of the front yard, but the weeds have figured it out. And most Americans eat mostly annual plants. As soon as the frost comes, the zucchini, and the tomatoes, they're done. And so by eating these wild things, because the dandelions are going to be growing a month before you can even plant your garden. And they're going to be there for a month after your garden's already toast too.
Right. So they're there to sustain us, not just through hard times, but like you said, the consciousness of this plant, this living being, because it is a living being. You're talking about dandelion. It's like, would you say it's like a cluster consciousness? Like plants itself, of course, have their consciousness collectively, but the spirit of a plant, like a dandelion, is it like a cluster consciousness? Or would you say each plant, each flower has its own individuation?
Well, my friend David Hoffman, I saw he has a book coming out called Nature's Intelligence or something. I can't wait to read it, but we are finding out that plants are sentient beings. I mean, even, what was that book? I can't think of the name of it. It came out like maybe 50 years ago.
Oh, Secret Life of Plants.
That one. So even, back then there was research that, plants are okay with you like eating them, but they just don't like you being mean. They do like to be spoken to nicely. It seems that there's a lot more consciousness than we thought. And, we're finding out that, trees like aspen trees, which, are prolific here in Colorado, they're like all connected at the roots and they communicate with each other, and that the fungi, mycelium, and it's just really a lot more holistic than we give it credit for.
It's a pulsing, living light of consciousness. The intelligence of these plants is far more than we can imagine. But I think as humanity is having this ascension moment, even though the tumultuousness is, yes, there, but overall, it seems like we are ascending. We will realize this. I think we're going to strengthen our relationship with the plants as we really realize their true intelligence. Do you feel like, though, that plants signed on in a way, much like we choose our lives before we're born? Did they choose to help us, like be there for us as we evolve, to be our companions, our food, our spiritual support, all of those things?
I do think there's truth in that. It's interesting how very often the plant that you need is right there. Like I got bit by a copperhead snake one time, and I was pretty young. I didn't quite know what to do. My husband sucked the venom out with a shop vac, which I thought was very clever.
You say husband, ex-husband, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Okay. I've never heard that before. That's hilarious. I'm
Margie
sorry. Go
Flint
ahead.
say that too. That's
A lot nicer than X, because you did love each other. So, all right. So we're not going to do the X thing, but the snake was right by the echinacea plant, and that was the right remedy. And I mean, the intelligent thing to do would have been like, get thee to a doctor, but you have to call ahead, and we didn't have a telephone to order the anti-venom serum. And it's like $10,000 a vial. And we were like, poor hippies. And so let's try this echinacea, and it worked.
And it was right there. Like literally divinity provided the manifestation happened. The plant spirit consciousness was there for you when you needed it.
Yes. And like where poison ivy grows, there's usually a remedy within 100 feet, whether it be, jewelweed, or whether it be artemisia, or maybe it's grindelia or gumweed. And then, you go somewhere like aloe vera grows in the desert, and it's a great remedy for sunburn. It's there, and if you you cut an aloe vera plant and it seals itself up. It'll exude this allantoin juicy stuff, and then it seals itself up, which is what it does to our skin. So and the animals understand this, and the plants speak to us in so many ways, with their flavor, with their color. The ones that are growing everywhere, like the dandelion and the chickweed, our miner's lettuce, are saying like, use me lots, I'm everywhere. And then the ones that are like, I'm so rare, you have to climb the highlands of Tibet to find us, might be saying, use me with respect when you really need me, because I'm kind of not available there for everybody.
Right. Well, I have to ask you this, because let's just go out in outer space for just a second, then we'll come back to Earth. How does it make you feel to know that in the infinite vastness of space, there are other Earth-like planets, there are other herbs out there with different energy signatures, with different spirits, but yet they're there? Like, does that blow your mind as an herbalist to think of extraterrestrial herbs?
Well, of course, but I'm totally into that. Been a long-term reader of the Urantia book.
Oh yes, love the Urantia.
I love the Urantia book. And Mo Siegel, who started Celestial Seasonings, he lives here in Boulder. He's my friend. And when you talk about outer space, he says, yeah, I wonder what kind of herbs we can find over there.
For the next tea. That's great.
But I do think that maybe space travelers, like supposedly the Mayans believed that the sunflower was a gift to them brought by extraterrestrials. I actually think that cannabis was a gift by some of the extraterrestrials that came here about 500,000 years ago, because, there were already humans here. This is way before Adam and Eve. But if they were to bring one plant that could help make food, fiber, fabric, medicine, lamp oil, sandals, rope, bedding, home construction, I don't know any other plant that could have done that many things. And it is interesting that it grows as tall as a tree in one season.
Yes, and it elevates consciousness as well when used correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wow, I've kind of heard that theory before, but it's been a minute. But wow, yes, it does seem like there is the potential with the visitations that have happened that there has been some cross-pollination, people bringing plant life from these other worlds that they're coming from.
And, wouldn't that be the right thing if you were going to another planet? Like, here, we bring you stinging nettles.
Well, I think it would be a great icebreaker, right? You're like, look, we have this stuff. It's called cannabis.
We got some seeds here. It's always been a way of, like tribe to tribe. May the leaves be for the healing of the nations.
Absolutely. And that's something I love about your book, is that it really outlines a lot of different healing strategies that includes herbs. You talk about cannabis, other modalities, and Western medicine, because that's really covering all of the gamut. So when people have these questions, they can cross-reference all within this book. And again, the ailments, the things that you cover in this book, it feels like are so needed right now. And so I urge everybody to get it, because it has that, but it's also like a guidebook for natural health in itself. Like it's kind of focused, but in a general sense, it's an incredible guidebook. As you go over these things, you learn about the different processes of natural health. And it has that cool A to Z in the back of all the different holistic therapies. So if you're brand new, like so many listeners are to the show, like brand new to these high frequency topics, these healing modalities, you have it all outlined. You're like A to Z. This is what this is. This is what this is. I thought that was super duper cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jake. And, like one problem that we, almost all of us know somebody who, as they're getting older, they're kind of losing their mental faculties, and we don't want to be like that. And yet what can we do to keep our brains active, keep our memory strong as we get older? So, I have a chapter on that, like, enhancing your intelligence. And so I'm really big on things like eating foods that are high in anthocyanins, things that are blue and purple in color, like blueberries and purple grapes and acai berries. I'm really big on lion's mane mushroom, which is really good for our neurological system. But I do think that a lot of times people are losing their mental faculties from some of the pharmaceuticals that they're on, from eating a very processed diet. And then aluminum cookware is another thing. And people don't realize that there could be aluminum in your deodorant or your non-dairy coffee creamer or your aluminum pot where you're making your, tea every day, or the restaurant that you're eating in. And I'm also really big on doing crafts, handcrafts, because I think that, if we go back a few generations, couple generations, the elder people were making things with their hands. And I do think that, following a pattern, or knit one, purl two, or whittling with wood and looking at, movement and being adept is really good for our brain, because we want to use our hands playing an instrument rather than only listening to music, like, sketch or play or journal or do things with your hands. It's really good for our brain connection to our hands. So
yes, we need to preserve this as we get older. There are different strategies for this, because you see people like yourself that are beautiful, vibrant, highly intelligent. And then you see people that are younger than you, and they're like gone. Like they're in a nursing home. They're like, their brain's gone because of the poisons. You are in the natural version of humanity, the true version of humanity. These other people are a product of the Matrix, it seems like. And Brynn, did you have something to say?
I did. It was about 3 subjects back. Hold on. We're going through so many cool things. Oh, I was just going to say that I really appreciated in your book how you do lay out so many different modalities that are beyond an herb you can take, but like the journal writing and the just, little processes, like you said, getting ready the night before or doing knitting or just other things that are so important. It's not just about replacing herbs for the pharmaceutical, right? It's about it's a whole lifestyle thing. And that chamomile tea is one aspect of settling down for the evening. But like you say in your book, it's also, taking that bath or drinking that tea or writing in your journal or calling your grandma or doing a puzzle or something that's changing your whole nervous system. And that's so important. And I think that's part of what we're missing in this whole pharmaceutical model is just take this for that, take this for that. And you could take echinacea instead of an antibiotic, but really it's the same thing if you're not doing those other lifestyle things. Or maybe the echinacea didn't work, but then you offer the homeopathics or the aromatherapy. And there's so many different things that could be tried, or even the acupressure points. That was such awesome information too.
Oh, thank you, Brynn.
Yeah.
And, increased light. We do know that a lot of people get depressed when they go to work in the dark. They're under fluorescent lighting all day. They come home in the dark. And another simple tool is the colors that you choose to wear.
Yes, I saw you said that.
I mean, color is energy. And if you think color doesn't matter, I'm wearing green today because we're filming this on a vendredi or a viernes. So it's Venus Day. So I wear green every Friday. My closet is arranged like a rainbow.
Planetary,
but I do think that, sometimes I see people and they say, I'm so depressed. And I say, every time I see you, you're wearing gray. You might find that blue is going to help you feel calmer, that red and hot pinks are going to make you feel more energized, that green is good when you want to just, be mellow and healing in a healing mode. And yellow is really good when you need to be very mentally alert. And so, I wear black. I'll probably wear black tomorrow because it's Saturn Day. But I'm not going to wear it every day because, it could be a little depressing.
Well, I wanted to ask you that. I am a person that wears black pretty much 95% of the time because what I've found for me as an energy sensitive person, as a highly psychic kind of empathic person, it shields that energy for me. If I wear all black, the shielding, the energy that I take on decreases significantly.
And that's true. Black is very warming and very comforting. It's a color that corresponds to our kidneys. And you know what? It helps us to be more courageous and less fearful. So black would be a good color for that. Although if you were single, Jake, and you were going out at night, you might say, you should wear a light color so people can see you in the dark.
Maybe you should wear a white.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up the kidneys because a lot of the book, and I think a big portion of the book, really focuses on the adrenals and how in Western culture, the adrenals are just getting taxed. And all of these things that are happening, there's a lot of different ailments that are rooted in this stripping of the adrenals that we have in Western culture right now. And I don't even think people realize that. Can you talk about that a little more?
Well, it does seem that for a number of years now, the American way has been to wake up and smell the coffee.
Yeah,
and
go.
And, coffee, it's free in a lot of work areas too. You go to work somewhere and they've got free coffee. They don't have free kombucha.
Right. Exactly.
It's like they want everyone to be a workaholic. And so drinking coffee, I did have a cup this week. I was at a hot spring, so it's not an everyday thing for me. But what it does is it stimulates adrenaline production. And adrenaline is that flight or fight hormone. It's a very important hormone. It's what helps us to move into action because oh my God, there's a car and somebody's stuck under there. And it gives us superhuman strength so we can do things. But then people are starting their day like that every day, and it can age you more quickly to overstimulate your adrenal glands, not to mention stress, stressful music, stressful movies, where you're gripping the seat. So we're kind of a roller coaster kind of culture,
Notice that.
Sleeping pills to go to sleep. And then stimulants to wake up. And I do drink yerba mate. We both do, but I don't find that impairs my sleep. I don't find that it's habit forming. I can go, long periods without it. It's very high in minerals. It does have a form of caffeine in it. My teacher used to say it's caffeine citronate as opposed to caffeine brominate. But it seems to lift your spirits, mildly laxative, brightens your mood, and high in minerals, and it doesn't seem to make you it doesn't make you feel all jangly and nervous.
Well, I'd like to add to that is that it raises your pH level. It's actually, what's that word? Not acidic.
Alkaline.
Thank you. Yes, it's alkalizing. It's not acidic. Whereas coffee, it's lowering your pH. It's getting grumpy, and then Whereas the mate actually alkalizes, and it increases serotonin. The native Argentinians believed that it was a gift from the Aztec gods to promote friendship.
Have a cup of tea with me. I love it.
I am right now. I drink it all the time. I love it so much. I love the spirit of yerba mate, the plant spirit. And here's something I want to ask you. Well, what do you think about the new era of psychedelic legalization? These plant spirits, we're talking about plant spirits. Well, now the plant spirits don't have as much stigma anymore. The plant spirits that are kind of like pretty powerful and can create profound change in a short time. The stigma is going away. The fear's going away. That negative energy is dissipating. What do you think about all that? Like, wow, 60 years. Like, my God, the work you did, the foundational work, it's all coming to fruition. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm very glad about that, because I certainly know people that were talking about this for many years that, did jail time, who really believed that this was going to help. My first husband, there's only been two, in case you're wondering how many. There's only been two. Okay, give me a break. But he kind of was part of this group called the Brotherhood of Eternal Love, and they thought it would help end the war in Vietnam.
No, I know about those guys.
Put enough hash oil in the surfboards and all of that. So anyways.
Wow. I know about that group. Wow.
But I do want to say, I bet you do. You've probably watched that movie, Orange Sunshine.
Well, there's a book called Acid Dreams, which details the entire history of the LSD movement and, the government and everything. I read that many, many years ago. And that's where I first learned about the Brotherhood of Eternal Love. These people felt like they were on a mission with these psychedelics to change consciousness and humanity, regardless of the risk.
It really was a mission, and a big part of the mission was to help end the war in Vietnam, which we felt very passionate about. But I did live. So I'm writing this memoir book, and I did live with Rosemary Leary, Tim Leary's wife, when she was like on the lam, and it was a very interesting time in my life. And I think that we have this thing. We've gone from like just say no, and now there's like just say yes. But my function is like being this grandmother sort of like, I think we need some education on just say how. Right. And I talk about that in the book. And that's why, I think people should, work on their stuff. It's not a substitute for doing therapy or making your bed or eating healthfully or, all the good stuff, doing your feng shui. But I do think that these medicines can be very, very powerful, but I'm not a big, let's go to a, Spangle concert and, be smoking DMT while we're standing up. I don't, it's not my thing at all. I'm like, no, and I learned this a lot from Rosemary Leary is like, no, you need to be safe, set and setting only with people that you know and trust. Because, things come up, if the people you're with, they turn into werewolves and vampires, like that does not bode well for the rest of the evening. You've got to have really conscious music, preferably without words or ego trips. I play a lot of, as a matter of fact, Tim Leary gave me permission to be the voice of the psychedelic prayers, which is based on the Tao Te Ching. So, I have a CD out where I read this beautiful prayers that is based on the Tao Te Ching that was a guide to be used during the psychedelic experience. So I do think we need a say how. And it also means, a guide is someone who can prevent mishaps from happening. Like, you need to stay hydrated, or no, we're not going to call your mother right now. We're not going to take our clothes off at the park. We're not going to get locked out of the house if we go for a walk. I'm going to hold your hand when we cross the street. So safe set and setting, and then having time for integration afterwards so that whatever you learned in that experience, you have time to, bring it into your life and, journal about it and make some new resolutions. Because I think that these are substances that really need a lot of respect. And I'm so, so delighted that Inner Traditions, gave me the permission to go ahead and write about psychedelic therapy. Because I do think that it can really help people let go of trauma, help them heal some of the stuff from their past. It can also even help people get some ahas about why they have anxiety and depression. But then it's not just take the medicine, it's take the medicine, learn something, and then bring that into your life and do something with it.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's the crux of the entire psychedelic experience. And I think it's so funny when I see these people at concerts, jam band concerts, or EDM shows like Schwangel, and they're hitting that vape pen, which is kind of a new invention, the vape pen of DMT. My God, when I do DMT, it has to be in a sacred, special place. I'm sitting down, I'm home, I'm safe. I don't know how these people do it, but they do it and they seem to enjoy it. But is it mind-blowing for you? Like, you saw people go to jail for a really long time, felonies for these drugs, and now it's casually talked about on mainstream television. People joke about it, like the stigma's gone. Is that kind of like mind-blowing for you, just like overall?
Well, Denver MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, they hosted a huge conference in Denver last summer. And my partner and I, we did a little chakra activation theater piece for Naropa University, and I helped at a friend's booth. But what I saw a lot of it happening, and we're not surprised, there are a lot of ketamine clinics, there are a lot of lawyers, there's a lot of psychotherapists, but I think that they're wanting to synthesize psilocybin, just like they want to just isolate the, ibogaine out of the iboga. So, I see that happening. But, nothing's really changed for me. I've always talked about creating safe set and setting, having some intention, that this is a big deal. This isn't everyday. This isn't recreation. This is spiritual medicine. And if you use it with that way, it can be life transformational. And I don't want to see it get a bad name because people are irresponsible. And I do think that people are very, very open. Dr. Leary used to talk about imprinting. So whatever you choose to listen to, watch, read, talk about in the experience, it can go really deep into your psyche. And if you're, at a festival or a concert and there's a lot of demonic overtones or,
it's weird energy.
Scary music that sounds like monsters eating little children. Like, why do that? Like, that is not funny at all. And, I've volunteered in the Zendo tents, where they have like a chill out place. And it's when the music gets really scary that people start having negative experiences, because you can really pick up on sort of the intentions of people aren't really coming from a pure place. So I'm good friends with Liquid Bloom, Amani, and Parangi. I don't know, but Amani friend who produces Liquid Bloom. They do some wonderful CDs that are very much designed to be used during the psychedelic experience.
Oh yeah, I love those guys. It's that psy bass, psy dub, like really heady, high frequency kind of geometric, you could say. There's a lot of it's just beautiful music. It's conscious. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about, but that is kind of the byproduct of this explosion. I mean, DMT, my God, DMT is just talked about so casually now. Like, we're talking about it, but it's just normalized. It just still blows me away. And you're a death doula as well. So have you ever crossed the streams? Have you ever had the psychedelic therapy be a part of the death therapy? And can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So, well, usually for me, it's people that know they're going to die and they're not going to die that day. But they know they're going to die soon. They have stage 4 prostate cancer, breast cancer, or whatever they're going to die from. And so I had this one experience of a man coming who had prostate cancer, and he came with his hospice care worker, and his intention was he was really afraid to die. And, psilocybin is sort of like a practice run, because you have this ego death. And I said, I better not give him the whole thing, because he is really old, But after a couple hours, I said, no, give me the rest of it. I'm ready. And he ended up doing, like 4 grams.
Wow.
And, and then, he said, I've got this. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to die. I know there's more. Sometimes, I kind of love it when I get these people, because I always want to pray first. Like, is it okay if I say a prayer? And, sometimes people say, oh, go ahead if it makes you feel better, but I'm an atheist. And I love it when at the end of the ceremony, they're saying, oh my God.
Yes, they get the divine download. It happens. Like the heart opens, the God is there. Like that is a beautiful experience, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure I'll have more and more experiences, but helping people cross over. But it does seem, and I've also seen someone very much in denial about he's dying, definitely dying, and in denial. And he did have a psychedelic experience, and it totally opened up. And then he died very peacefully a few days later. Wow. So, yeah, I'm seeing that is a really useful tool, because dimethyltryptamine, which is in psilocybin, which is in ayahuasca, it's a chemical that's also produced when we are born and when we give birth, especially if it's a natural vaginal birth. And it also comes into play when we die. And so this DMT experience, if used in the right way, could actually be a practice run for us to see that there is more than this material realm, and to have less fear of going into, what some might think is the great unknown. But the Rancher book makes it sound like death. It's going to be amazing. You're going to see your loved ones again, and you get these pets, and you have more senses, and,
It's a graduation experience. I talk about this on the podcast a lot, and we do talk about DMT a lot. It's a graduation experience. The Egyptians knew that. The mystery school, the ancient Egyptians, all the advanced cultures knew that you're here as this light being for kind of technically 5 minutes. You're here in this one life to learn. Every second is a blessing, because you're going to graduate eventually, and you're going to miss this place but the graduation happens. That's what we're building for. The whole thing is preparation for graduation. And the purpose is service, it seems like. Just like you've dedicated so much of your life to service, that's what we're here to do, to activate the humans to get to that next step.
Om Dao.
Well, we've had such an incredible conversation. Brynn, is there anything that you want to talk to her about? I know you've been writing some notes down here.
Oh, I'm just, not really notes of so much to say, but one thing I just want to say is really just thank you to you and to your whole age group of herbal elders that really, I feel like, brought it back from almost seemingly the time between the 14th and 19th century, really, when it just really went underground in the West. And, it kind of came back a little bit with homeopathy in the early 1900s. And then, but really, I feel like it was that 60s and 70s group of people that, the plants called out to you and you listened, and then you brought it to the forefront, and you formed the Herbalist Guild and the Plant Savers and all the schools. And, I've been listening to a lot of Rosemary's interviews. I know you did one with her recently. I haven't had a chance to listen to yet.
I think it came out today.
Oh, perfect. But how she's talking about how you guys didn't even have really access to herbs besides, the weeds, or maybe you didn't even know what the weeds were yet because they weren't, so well known. But you all just put one foot in front of the other and figured it out, and you taught each other, and you set up conferences, and there was, Brighton Bush and little conferences all across the country, and you taught each other, and then you taught, people that were my parents' age, and you've taught me, and, on and on it goes. And so I'm just wanted to say a prayer of thanks for all of us for bringing it back.
Thank you so much. And we love Rosemary so much. Rosemary Gladstar, what a dear being. And, of course, when in the early Brighton Bush years, there were probably 20 herbalists in the country. And now there's 200 herb schools. There was Michael Moore and William Lesaussier. And, so anyways, the movement's really grown. And, it's, and now there's herb stores and natural food stores everywhere. And we wanted this to be available for everyone. And so I just, it brings me great joy. Thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, no, you did it. You guys did it. It's so great.
It's true. You can find herbs anywhere now, like tinctures, salves, various things in national chain grocery stores. And because it seems like that's the mission of herbs, right? The mission of herbalism is to heal, right? Is that correct?
Well, that's one of the things we use them for, but then there's like the pollination, and there's beauty, and there's inspiration and aroma. I mean, there's so many things. It's so vast.
That's all medicine too, I feel like. There's that beauty medicine, and inspiration is medicine.
Wow. Well, the herbs have done a fantastic job. I'm sorry if we just keep complimenting you. You've been so fantastic being a voice of the herbs, being a voice for those plants, the plant spirit consciousness for so many years. I just appreciate you as well. Thank you again.
Thank you both. Thank you so much, Jake. I love your spirit. Wow. What an honor to be on your show.
Well, we have so much to do as light workers, as spiritual people. The mission isn't over yet. We haven't activated the United Earth yet, but we're all here doing the work. We're doing the best we can. And this book that you have is a great place to find the natural remedies for the stresses, the emotional issues, the mental issues, all these things that we face as humans. There's an answer in the plant world for that. Now, I want to tell people where to find you, your website, Brigitte Mars. I'm going to spell this, BrigitteMars.com, BrigitteMars, BrigitteMars.com. You can find stickers, the books, DVDs. She has music CDs. One of the most beautiful stickers I've ever seen, Witches for Jesus. I'm going to actually buy that. I feel like I'm a witch for Jesus. I love Jesus. I love the Jesus story, but I also love all of Earth and all the various beautiful teachings.
Well, the Urantia book says he had a core of women apostles, and they left that out of the Bible. So, oopsie daisy. And also, I was just having a conversation with a different guest about how Mary, the goddess figure, was demonized. And that's a whole other podcast episode that we can have. So listen, if you're in Boulder, Colorado, you can take classes. There are monthly classes. I have an online class too. Like, you can be anywhere in the world.
Really? Okay. So if you're in the Boulder area, you do those classes once a month, but you also do online classes. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So anywhere in the world, you can learn from one of the greats, Brigitte. And is there anything else you want to talk about before we go? This is such an honor. I don't want to let you go. I feel like I got to find more things to talk about, but we just have to have you back on.
I would be so honored. The name of the book is Natural Remedies for Mental and Emotional Health. It's on Amazon. It's on my website. And Jake, if you give me your address, I would love your postal address. I'd love to send you a Witches for Jesus sticker.
Thank you. That's amazing. Okay. And Brynn, did you have anything else as an herbalist? Brigitte's here now. Brigitte Mars. Is there anything else you want to say to her?
I do say I agree with you so much about the weeds. That was one thing I wrote down. I just seeing plantain and chickweed and dandelion everywhere. It's like they know. And I always look over when I'm driving on the highway and, the air is stinky and everyone's in their cars and all that. And I look over and I'm like, wow, look at all those lung remedies. Look at all those immune remedies, just like sitting there on the side of the highway. Not that you'd want to pick those ones, but they're kind of in the place where it's like, hey, like I would help you out if, So I love that about the weeds, and they're so plentiful. And so we could take them all the time and, have them be our tonics and kind of our guides as we're figuring out this moment. And I guess the other thing is just if you have anything else that you would like to say, like any stories or any plants in particular that are, I know they're all our favorites, but, just anything like that.
Well, I would like to say that currently America is using a third of our nation's water to water grass. And then people drive to the store to buy gasoline to cut down the grass. That's kind of dumb. We should have edible lawns, and you can save thousands of dollars a year and have the best health ever if you start cultivating an edible weed yard and you eat those and you use them as medicine. It's really so simple. Don't let them make us be stupid. We're smarter than that. And the weeds, they help us. All that chlorophyll is so great for our brain. So if you have water to throw away, throw it on a plant. That's one proverb I always like to say. And the other one is, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is now.
Yes, absolutely. That is so beautiful.
Perfect.
Well, thank you again so much, Brigitte, for being here. Natural remedies for mental and emotional health. Again, you can find that on Amazon, but she has so many other books and so many other things. So check out the website, BrigitteMars.com. And what a blessing. We need to have you back on. Will you come back on soon?
I would love it. Let's
Yes.
do the Tree of Life one.
Oh, yes. Okay, next time. Oh, man. This is so amazing. You heard it here first, people. Preview of what's coming in the future of Midnight on Earth. Brynn, thank you so much for being here and being a guest co-host. And
thanks, Brigitte.
yes, and
Blessings.
yes, please hold through the
Give
outro.
me your address.
Oh, I
Send me
will.
your address.
I will.
Okay,
Please
cool.
hold through the outro music. And everyone, check those things out. Like I said, they're just amazing. We had a legend on. We're going to have more guests on, but this has been a special one. And we'll see you next week. Midnight on Earth.